All right, hello and welcome. We're going to be working on this stream here. So today's live stream is basically about oil painting. And specifically, I also want to talk about this interesting oil painting that I saw the other day. It was at the Getty Center in Los Angeles, California. If you've never been there, it's an amazing, amazing art gallery. It's actually like a fortress, gardens, little tram tour. It's like an adult Disneyland, but no rides. Well, they have a tram that takes you up, but it's like an adult Disney World where you get to like just look at and experience all this cool stuff up on top of a mountain, like Magic Mountain. I think of it as like Magic Mountain. And as I get my references set up here, bear with me. But I saw one of these paintings there the other day by Artemisia Gentileschi, I think is how you pronounce her name. Artemisia Gentileschi, and very well known female artist today. Very well known today, but she wasn't known, until like in the past few years because she painted during a time when female artists were not recognized pretty much at all. So, fast forward to today, I saw a really interesting painting of hers, and it was basically a destroyed painting. So I guess there was some catastrophe that destroyed the painting, and this was a restored version of that painting. And it was amazing because I love seeing like restored paintings, or even like X-ray paintings, because they have this technology now where you can like X-ray a painting. So just say 150 years from now, this painting gets X-rayed, and you could see all of the changes and transformations that I might have made or chose to make. And with Artemisia's painting, I thought it was just fascinating because she had a huge change. She made a head go from like little turning like somewhat towards the camera and looking towards you, well, towards you, not the camera. And then like she totally rotated the head to look the other way. And there's lots and lots and lots of classical artwork that shows that type of pentimento, I think is the word for it. There's an Italian word called pentimenti or pentimento, where classic artists basically, you know what? I think pentimento is a euphemism for making mistakes, but because all the greats and the classic artists did it, they don't call it a mistake. They call it pentimento. They give it a fancy word. So basically, that's any visual change of a painting, usually done later on by like historians that like will analyze a painting and try to figure out where the mistake or the change happened. But you never call them mistakes in a fine art context because we know the classical artists never made mistakes. They did everything perfectly. That is a little bit of sarcasm there, but just a little bit. But that said, oil paints aren't scary. I go on Reddit a lot. Oh, my cat's just knocked over all my paintings. Hold on. They're in frames, so it's okay. 1 second. It's hard to work on a tight space with cats. But what was I just saying? I was saying something about oil paints just aren't scary. Oil paints are fantastic because I go on Reddit and I inevitably see people talking or mentioning like how they were so scared to start painting from like acrylic, and how they were oil painting, and how like suddenly they started oil painting from acrylic, and it's just like, what were they scared of, right? It's just so interesting. And I started with oil painting, so I really don't know what the fear around working with oils is. I started with it because I felt like that was going to be the if I was to do acrylic, if I was to start with acrylic, I realized that eventually I would want to do oil anyway, or at least try it, but not really the other way around. If I started with oil, I didn't feel as if I was really gonna have a huge interest in working with acrylic. Acrylic is plastic. I felt oil just feels more just like natural. Now, I'm not saying it's like more environmentally friendly or anything. I don't actually know the science behind that, but um, there's that element of it, of what I thought I was going to want to do eventually. So I started with the end result in mind, I guess you could say, and I started the oils. And I feel like people jump into acrylic because they might have heard that it's easy, or like oil takes a lot of time to dry. And honestly, there's so many ways to manipulate oil paint that makes it dry faster or lets it dry even longer, however you wish to do it. But ultimately, oil paints are fantastic. They're wonderful. Now, there is a smell, and you know, of course, like any paint, you don't want to eat it. Don't eat your paint. Don't drink the oil. Don't drink the mineral spirits. This is common sense stuff, but like that's really where the only issues are. So as long as you paint in a well-ventilated space, which I'm not in because it's summertime, it's already about 75, 80 degrees, and it's going to heat up to almost 100. So I got to keep my windows closed and use some air conditioning. But as far as like oil painting goes, it's not scary. There's like so many great things about oil painting that make it less scary. One of them being the length of the amount of time it takes to dry. Now, some people are scared. Some people are intimidated by the amount of time it takes to dry. And honestly, I think the only thing that really adds, as far as like, I mean, there's techniques that people do to paint a la Prima, like in one sitting. So you know, you try to finish an oil painting in one sitting, and where that really is different compared to acrylic, I think acrylic dries pretty fast. So you know, you could be working on one section, and by the time you go back to the previous section, it's already dry, so you can really build color up. That's my assumption. But when it comes to oil painting, you know, the beauty of it comes from mixing the colors. And yes, you're going to get colors that look like mud. And you got to realize that, like, if you really want to build up a painting, you know, if you really want to build it up, you got to wait. You got to give yourself like a day or two, or 3 or 4 or 5. And, you know, traditionally it used to take people years to finish a single painting for, you know, any variety of reasons, right? Like, that could be from any variety of reasons, but also people back then, like the Renaissance artists, they were of a different breed in a different time with different technology, different tools, different expectations, and all of those things. So, I personally, I think it's almost kind of pointless to try and compare yourself to a classical Renaissance artist, because, you know, here's the thing, like, yes, did I paint that? Yes. What's up, Faye? How you doing? I think it's almost pointless. I'm not saying that, like, you know, you shouldn't try to achieve excellence, but I do think that it's literally impossible unless you're born in like a place in a temple with no electricity, no air conditioning, no social media, no internet, no TV, no anything, no distraction other than to commit yourself to the craft of painting as if it was like life or death, from the age of like 4 years old until, you know, I guess the median age. Alexa, how old was Leonardo da Vinci when he died?
Leonardo da Vinci died at 67 years old on May 7th.
All right, so he actually lived pretty old for back then, but let's just say 60 something is the age there. So, you know, I think with all these things, you know, all these distractions, yes, I did, Faye. This is definitely a piece that I painted, and I'm still working on it. We're not done yet. Still going to be working on it for a little longer. Probably a couple more, maybe another week. I'm thinking, but I need to take a break on this. I want to start another painting. That's the one wonderful thing about painting is, with painting, you can jump from like one thing to the next. You never really have to like be so committed to a single piece. Now, obviously, this is a piece that I do have to finish at some point because it is for somebody. But I think it's important to break up monotony sometimes by switching things up. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start painting here in just a moment. I'm gonna grab this other canvas that I started. So let me put this on the floor here. Let's take this painting and put it to the side. Alright. So right here. Gonna find somewhere nice and safe to put this. Where would be a nice safe spot? Might have to wander around my apartment to find a spot here. Where would be a good safe spot? All right, there we go. Good safe place for my painting. Now, here we go. Let's get our next piece going. So we're just gonna drop this onto here. This one's gonna be, just a way to like kind of loosen myself up for the day. I don't always need to do this, but after doing the same painting and like building for a little while, for a couple days or even a week or two, I definitely feel the need to shake things up a little bit to change and switch. So we're actually going to be working on this. Wow, Faye has retracted all of their messages. Hey, welcome, Faye. What's going on? Can you not hear me? Is my speaking not coming through? I don't know. Let me know if my sound is not working. But let's go ahead and start with this brush. So this is a Princeton Catalyst brush. This is a Princeton Catalyst brush, and this is probably one of my favorite brushes. This is a polytip, I think it's called, like Princeton Catalyst polytip. You can tell because it's got the black ferrule. And basically, I mean, this is probably one of my favorite brushes. It manages to hold a shape, not the shape, not the original shape, which is supposed to be pointed, like perfectly pointed. But I don't have a single. I don't think there's a single brush brand that can actually create a brush that holds its sharp point. So I love this brush because of its other characteristics. It holds paint very well. It can hold a lot of paint, which if you paint thickly, and it's just like you could do so much with it. It's a very versatile brush, this brush. And let me see now. Here. I need to see if I can rotate this a little bit. Rotate that. Okay, so let's start painting here. What are we gonna paint? You're gonna find out. If I find that brush, whatever I just did with it. What could I have possibly done with the brush just now? Hello? Where'd you go? Oh, here we go. All right, disappeared into our little palette here thing. So you know what? I'm gonna start with some red. let's just start with some red. I got a lot of red on the brush. I've just totally loaded this brush here with some red. Not totally. It's not too dense, but you know, I just know that this is gonna be like the first layer, so I'm not really like too obsessed with like what exactly. So also, you know, composition rules is pretty easy. The most simple one is just rule of thirds. So you want the details that you want to be pretty much in the center. And we're gonna take this flower. You know what? Let me crop this photo. Let me download the photo. And then I'm gonna crop it. So references. I was painting at an event like a week ago, and this family came up to me, and the kids asked me, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" And you know, my response to that was the first thing. You know, I didn't really have like the most important thing I said to them was like, have a good reference, have a good photo, take good photos. That's really the only way. You know, back historically, I think what they used to do, and you know, I always say back in the day. When I say back in the day, I don't mean back in my day. I mean like back in ancient times, before cameras, before 1800s. You know, I think most artists had to find people that would pose for them. Just think about how hard that would be even today. You know, I mean, it's not that difficult today, but just think about how hard that would have been back then when you didn't have social media. You had to like go out and like find people that would pose for you, right? So finding good photo references, that is key for sure. All right, so we got this 2x3 setup right here. Let's see, let's go a little further up. All right, and you know what? I want to save, so I'm saving my reference here, save as copy, save, yes. Oh crap, I saved over it. PureRef. Let me open my reference. So I use this app called PureRef. PureRef is great. PureRef. PureRef. Let me find my phone. I gotta do something on my phone real quick. So PureRef is a great reference tool that you can put all your references in one space, and it's great because you can have all your images in one place, and they're all easy to modify and manage and maintain. Let's see, I want to restore these images. Okay, great. Those got restored. I want to save this. Save as wed. What's up, Pookie? Does anybody hear my cat talking to me? She's talking to me. Giving her. Let's see, open. We're going to do new scene, browse. And I'm using, again, we're using this app called PureRef. P-U-R-E-R-E-F. And what that is a tool that allows you to have all your images that you're using for references in one page. And for some reason I can't find this flower that I just edited. Desktop, what's going on here? I always can't seem to find my images. Here we go. Alright, let me download my original reference as well. open images. And let's see. How do I optimize this? All right. You know what? This image can get bigger. Okay, so let's get started. Finally get started here. So I'm going to start with like a cadmium red, just as like a nice little foundation. And here we go, rule of thirds. I know I stuck that right in the center, so pretty much, let's go. And just getting a general shape of everything first. And one great thing about flowers, which is why I think, you know, people love painting flowers, is that it's really easy to make flowers look good because, you know, when you paint flowers, it's not about finding the perfection in the flower, right? It's not about finding the exact match. It's not about like copying a photo in the same way that you might do for a it's not the same way you might do for a, how do you say it, like a portrait, right? If you have a portrait, there's expectations. If you're painting a portrait, there are expectations of what that portrait should or shouldn't look like because you're painting a person. And when you paint the person, especially if they're hiring you to do it, you have to give them, unless you're like a known artist for a very abstract style, like say, I don't know, Amedeo Modigliani, Picasso, I don't know, I can't. Anyways, those are just like two of the most common names, right? Unless you paint portraits and are known for like a very specific style, you know, Francis Bacon, there's an expectation of what the painting needs to look like, and it is because of that expectation that, you know, you have to be somewhat tight in the way you paint as opposed to loose. Now that's not always the case, right? You can still be pretty loose, but with flowers it's a little bit different. You don't have like a total dependence on having to make something look totally correct. So we got our rule of thirds. We're gonna have another third right here. We're gonna have another flower right over here. So just building in our red here, using like a cad red. I had this painting, this mess of an image I already had from like weeks ago. I prepared it over a week ago, maybe a month ago actually. I just had this sitting around. I knew I was going to use it at some point. I love like just having canvases ready, but here's the thing. I don't always do, so, you know, you'll see a lot of artists and they have like one way that they just have absolutely mastered. So they might like, you know, make a fresh painting of just like red, right? Or like yellow. They might have like an underpainting that's just yellow or red or blue or whatever. They do what's called an underpainting if you're new, and if you're not new, then, you know, this is nothing new to you. But what's called an underpainting, which is basically either they can go into full detail of value, or like basically a monochrome sketch, or you could do something like this. Well, not this. This is not actually the way to do it. because you know you would want to have like a monochrome and it would be very specific. But I think the main thing to take away from the idea of the monochrome sketch is the main idea to take away isn't so much like, oh, this is how you have to paint. It's definitely, there's a big element of like the reason why you do this is so you don't have like empty little spaces of the canvas peeking through. I think that's the biggest reason for me specifically, but it's a big key reason not to use monochrome. To have a underpainting. And I would consider this an underpainting, but some might not say it's an underpainting because it doesn't really reflect what's above, and it's just either a painting or a mess or whatever you want to call it. But I think I like challenging myself by having like different underpaintings, like making like these abstract, unusual works, and then painting on top of them. Because, what's up, O? I like painting on top of paintings like this because it gives me an opportunity to really see what the possibilities are as far as like, sticking closely to rules versus experimenting and seeing what else is possible as far as potential goes. As far as the potential of using different colors. And what's fun is as I'm painting this, I can definitely feel a confidence difference between when I painted my very first flower years ago and this flower, or these flowers. I can feel like a noticeable like confidence difference. It's just there. And I think that helps a lot. But here's the thing: is like when I first started painting, I definitely faked as if I knew what I was doing. But sometimes I think it helps to just have that bit of boldness. Then I just feel good now. And here's why I feel good. I shouldn't just feel good and feel like confident for the sake of feeling confident about what's going to happen here. I feel confident because I'm working specifically with oil paints. And, if I was working with acrylic or something else, I don't know if I would feel as confident because, well, first of all, I don't use acrylic, but second, I think, more noticeably, I think is the idea that with oil paint, I have like eternity to work it. I have this benefit of working with this paint all day long. Maybe not exactly, but you get the idea. Like for the day, for the majority of the day, this paint will probably stay fairly wet. This will stay nice and wet, and I can work it. That's not really true. Hypothetically, it could dry pretty quickly since I'm using a lot of mineral spirit. But it's the idea that counts, right? Oil paint, if I use just oil by itself, it'll take a long time to dry. But if I don't like the way it looks today, I know that tomorrow is another day. And tomorrow it may be ready and dry, and I could just paint over that. And that's why I feel great. I feel, I just understand a little better how oil paint works. So that's really helpful to just know. Did I finish the wedding picture? No, I did not. But I needed to break up my my thoughts. I needed to break my thoughts up so that I could paint it in the best way possible. All right, trying to go for like almost a vermilion here. We're gonna come around. We're just gonna go like this. Come around, come here. And here we go. So just bringing these flower pieces up and around. And here we go. So really going for some highlights around this flower. And there are some amazing flower painters that I've seen, just absolutely remarkable. I don't know, I actually don't know them off the top of my head, but I just love seeing a flower painting. Like, I love seeing an expressionist flower painting. Let me get specific here, because what I mean by an expressionist flower painting is like, you know, there's this artist who's like throwing paint at a, you know, like an expressionist, right? They're just flinging paint everywhere and then suddenly becomes a flower. And I think why a flower is a beautiful thing to capture is mainly because it's something, right? Like, but yet somehow if you paint it in a very expressive way, you can really capture a lot of depth of not just like an artist, but like of the flower. And I think that's really neat. So I'm a fan of very expressive flower painters. Then here we go, bring this down. Here we come in. Paint around a little bit. And actually I could bring some of this color into the bottom one too, probably. You know what there was a time when I realized why I'm so comfortable taking advice from people. I know a lot of artists like don't really like it when, or even streamers, right? You can really see this in like content streamers, where like they don't like to be told like, hey, this is how you should try this, or like try this. But there was definitely a time when I was outdoor painting, when I was just getting started, where like people would come up and talk to me, and I'm just like, wow, that's some great information. And it might be something as simple as finding color, right? Like I was trying to find a great color, a red, and they're like vermilion. I didn't even know that there was, you know, that was like an option for color. But you know, funny enough, that was a color that was inside my palette that I had in my palette somewhere. Vermilion was a color that I had, and so I used it, and that was the perfect color that I needed. So just aiming to build up some textures here, various details. Let me see. This is going to come around and go this way. Let me clean off this brush here. So yeah, I have not finished the wedding painting, for those of you wondering, but I need to break up, I need to break up my brain. Because if I, you know, spend too much time on a single painting or a single idea, it's really easy to like, to get stuck. At least for me, I don't know about anybody else, but, you know, get stuck, not in the sense of like trying to figure out what to do, but just stuck in a sense of feeling as if you got to try something else. You got to move on for something. Okay, there we go. We've got bits of yellow here. And just laying down some major areas of color. Get that feeling. It's called ADHD. Yeah, ADHD. Some like it, right? ADHD or something like it. Love or something like it. Something ADHD. I don't know. I never went to go get my brain checked, so I wouldn't know if I had ADHD or not. But I'm sure. Like I feel like I think the research shows that like every adult in a modern world has some form of it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. You know, talk to your doctor if you feel you have an issue. I'm just expressing my thoughts around it. So let's go like this. We're going to make this a bit whiter. I do foresee a problem with my current painting setup, and that is this: that the light, I don't have as good of lighting on my my palette as I used to. Because the light's coming from my top left, therefore my palette is on my bottom right, therefore the light in my palette is a little bit blocked, and I need to find a way to get the light just right in there. The light is blocked, so I can't see the colors as perfect as I need. Because I think the light colors will look lighter, and the dark colors will look darker. And let's see, right there. Let's sketch out another part of this here. Come straight down from the center here. Actually, we're going to go, another rule of thirds here. Just drawing out a loose line right there. Let's see how this will come about. We're going to go here. Let's find some of these shapes into our flower here. And then find a little highlight right here. You know what would be a good YouTube channel? And by the way, like, I would never do this because I can't stick to one single subject matter for that long and build an entire channel just based on it. But like, even just like, I can't just do portraits, I just can't. Like, I would be unhappy as an artist if all I did was portraits. So that said, now I mean, you know, given some caveats, like, you know, it depends on if they were stylized or if I got to constantly experiment or whatever. But what I mean by that is, so what I'm about to say is the idea for a channel. This would be a great channel if someone just did, all they did was paintings of flowers in an expressive and interesting way. That's my idea for the channel, and anybody can feel free to take it. But I think that would do pretty well if you were just so passionate about flowers. You could just paint them all day long, all day, every day, non-stop. I mean, there's your idea. There's your calling. A channel that just live streams. It just live streams art, like paintings. That was it. I think you do great. There's cat hair on here. I'm just like sketching out stuff that's around the flower fairly loosely. And let's go like this. Honestly, you know what? I said I probably wouldn't be able to do this, but honestly, I feel like I could. At least for a while. I could probably have a lot of fun with just painting flowers as a YouTube channel, but only not with like a specific style of flower though. It'd have to be like I could just paint flowers however I want, rather than, oh, you know, you started doing it this way, so now you have to do it that way for the rest of eternity. That I would not be able to do. I think flowers give enough variety. Nature gives enough variety that you can just paint indefinitely. All right, where do we go with this? Let's find some purple shadows here. We're gonna go right in here, bring into this area. Coming on the tips here. This could be just more bright red. Yo, Josh. J to the H to the O to the Izzy O to the Izzy O. I swear Snoop Dogg has to be the rapper who made up more words than any other musical artist ever. There has to be a rapper that is credited with making up the most words. Like D-O-double-G. I don't know if that existed before Snoop Dogg, but that's now a word. I don't know what else. What else was not a word before Snoop Dogg? Izzy. I don't know if Snoop Dogg actually made up those words, but so what's going on, Josh? How's this morning going for you? What are your hopes and aspirations for the day? clean off this brush now. When you hear me tapping, I clean off my brush between every, like, oh, not every, but anytime I, like, majorly change colors, I'll probably change my brush quite a bit. Let's grab a nice green here. Grab a nice yellow green. Dip in a little bit of mineral spirit. And let's just lay it down into here. We're gonna have a little contrasting green on top of our purple. And just allow these colors to like mix together. Love the colors already, thanks. Alright, let's actually continue on with this wonderful green. And we're going to start like really punching up the area around. So I want to find some highlight areas. So we're going to go just start in this corner. And there we go. Just building up some color zones here. Focusing on some of the brighter colors before we get too into the bright colors. So we're going to come like this. We're focusing before we do the dark colors. So bring this, bring it up. I just love the way oil paint spreads. I think the scariest thing about oil paints is the fact that it spreads so willingly and openly that you should be scared about where it will end up in your house. Because oil paint has this way, I think all paints do, but you know, oil paint has an especially long drying time, which means, you know, it has an especially long tracking time compared to other paints like watercolor or anything else. Any trolls under the bridge yet? I don't know. Are there any trolls? There's Omizu, you, and 3 other people. Oh, 1 person left, so I don't know if there's any other trolls right now. Could be. I'm sure there's always a troll or two. What would life be like without a troll? Too easy. Life would be empty, meaningless without the right kind of trolls. The real question is how I'm going to paint all of the leaves here. Just drawing some spidery designs for our leaves for now. I think what I got to do is I'm going to grab our dark blue here. Grab our deep blue, ultra. This is a Prussian blue. And I think what I got to do is I should just go right up into our shadows with our Prussian blue here. And I'm not even worried about I'm not even worried about how accurate this looks. This painting is just to get out of my head, loosen up a little bit. Because what happens, I think, is if I don't loosen up, if I don't get this crazy movement out of my body, and I want to do like a painting that's serious, such as the wedding painting, my body's gonna start, like, I know my habits, right? And I can just have like perfect self-control and be so disciplined and, you know, have disciplined mastery over myself. But like, knowing myself, that could work. But realistically, the best way for me to get over it is to just paint something really loosely and not try to suppress my natural instinct of just being my natural creative habit of just wanting to, you know, just let loose. And honestly, this brush is probably a little too small. I might not be. This brush might be small. I mean, it is small. This brush is small. Let me see. Let me go for a bigger brush. I think I can go for a bigger brush now because I'm painting larger areas. See, what would be a good sized brush? Taking one of these two brushes, either this brush or this brush. Our previous brush, where'd it go? Our previous brush was slightly smaller than this. Do I prefer Olive Prima style? Yes, I do. I love, like, you know, going outdoors and just painting in like one session. But I also realize that it rarely ever comes out as good as you see them in the museums. So, so I'm gonna use one of these two brushes. Let me see. I should probably use this brush. Let's go with a nice thick brush for this. So I don't need to. I'm not making marks yet. I'm just laying down huge areas of color, of paint, I should say. Color, paint. Let's go ahead. We're gonna spread some of this. Let's grab some more of this Prussian blue green. And we're gonna come around like right over here. Let's try to go for some more gestural, like angular work, because what I find with my paintings is that I try, like, my paintings come out a little too organic, as far as like these round shapes go. But I feel like when it comes to things, it's good to have like you just clean edges, just like to be able to just like boom, just like clean off an edge like that. I don't know. I've seen it have some good results. I've seen some good results from just cleaning edges. Which usually I spend too much time trying to go for exactly what I see. That's not always the best way, right? I'll say, I should ask, so Omizu, I wonder if Omizu still uses a reference for his keyring, because, you know, to me, I feel like when I see it, I'm like, that's got to be coming from his total imagination. That was a little too tight of a space. Okay, let's grab some more of this Prussian blue, green. Let's grab, yes, want this Prussian blue, green. We're gonna come around. Let's actually even just go right here. And let's go, got a couple of areas of shadow, like right, let's get some shadows right into here. And that is one thing that's great about painting flowers is like, there's so, I think as far as flowers go compared to like faces, I mean, yes, there's so much variation in faces, but there's only so much variation in like how you can paint someone and still be able to say like that's the essence of them, I think. I mean, you know, I guess if you're an artist, you get so creative with this and go really, really out of the box. But I think, you know, flowers, they don't have, I think, you know, humans have as much variety of of body types, shapes, facial shapes and faces as some plants do, or any other thing in nature. It's amazing. It's amazing how fascinating, how similar we are yet so different looking, and how much variety there is between us all. Let's go like this. What I should do right now, let me just take a nice big yellow, nice big swamp of yellow. I'm just gonna let it, a nice drippy yellow paint just spread across here. I think it would look nicer if I just stuck totally to trying to do it this way, but you know, this painting is going to be more ultimately just for the fun of it, as opposed to these, as opposed to like a specific like specific reason. AKA a sale or commission or something. It's moving. Why are you moving? Stop moving. I don't understand why it would be moving because it's locked in. Why are you moving? There we go. Hopefully that's a little better. Let me find some new yellows. Definitely going to use up the rest of my Winsor Newton CAD yellow pale hue. And here's a perfect time for a product demonstration. So this is an absolute like essential if you want to get the most out of your oil paint, because it helps you literally get the most out of your oil paint. So these tubes are built in a way where like it's really, they're tubes, right? We all use toothbrushes. They're very hard to squeeze and really get it all out. So one great tool that you can use is a tube squeezer. Now this is actually a tube squeezer. It says it's for toothpaste, but honestly, I've used it for toothpaste and oil paint. And although, you know, it's kind of weak for some oil paint tubes, it gets the job done. Like I have to use a really strong grip and a really strong twist to get it. but as far as like it rusts really easy. It rusts very easy. The paint tube squeezer. Therefore, you know, you keeping it in your bathroom where the shower is and the water gets on it from the toothpaste and everything isn't really the best way to use it. Sometimes you got to work the paint up a little bit. And these are just Winton colors, Windsor and Newton. They're a great like entry-level brand. I will say though, their paints have like a certain texture that, let's just say, my purpose for using Windsor and Newton isn't the same purpose that I have for my extra price point paints. Yeah, I use Windsor and Newton when I want to just cover surfaces. That's it. Like if I just have the goal of covering a surface and I'm not overly focused on like detail and everything, I just want to use lots and lots of paint, either just to practice or just to mess around with or just to play and have fun with paint, I'll use Windsor Newton. Windsor Newton's a great fun brand. Right? You never I feel like with Windsor Newton, you never feel too precious. I mean, it's a high quality paint, but you don't feel too precious with it because it's so accessible. And you know, if you start to get too precious with your paint supplies, you become too scared to use them, and because they cost whatever their costs are. I think that'll reflect in your paintings. So a lot of these colors are neon. It's almost like a neon green. But let's go with it. Let's just keep running with these colors here. Let's just play with this. Let's make it more like abstract looking. Let's do abstract flower paintings. That would be good. There's a niche. There's a niche I can play with. Abstracted flower paintings. Just go out and take a bunch of flower photos on my own so I never have to worry about references. And then run with it, right? That's all you gotta do. And I wouldn't even need to do like prearranged flower designs because nature already provides so much beautiful information for all this. The universe provides you with all the inspiration that you could possibly want. The universe provides. And I'm still not sure. So here's where this tool comes in handy. This is going to make me look like an amateur, but, you know, I don't really know what color to put up here. And so I need to resort to my Painting 101 color toolkit, my Colors 101 toolkit, which is this pocket color wheel. So here I see that, you know, my main colors are these like red oranges. So reds, red oranges, and oh wait, let me just go right here. Red to red orange. If I'm in the red to red orange color zone, and the color that I'm using And the colors that I'm using, I have this green, the green yellows. So I have a, what would the split complementary be? So let me just see. I got complementary, which would be the reds and a red orange. These is what I want to be the focus. So red and red orange. And if I have this, ooh, I might even be able to use a triad. A triad is using 3 colors equally spaced from each other on the wheel. Example, orange, violet, and green. No, I don't want to use a triad. Well, blues and greens over here. Yeah, this could be cool. Blues and greens over here. And then, I don't know, I'm trying to think of this space right here. What would be a good color? This yellow, like a total yellow, really? I don't know if that would really work. Would a total yellow really work? Got the greens. I mean, that's pretty much where, as long as I don't, I mean, I'm pretty much using every color of the, I feel like I'm using pretty much every color. I don't know. I go complementary, go green. Maybe I'd go with a light blue and stick to. It's a challenge here because what I'm seeing is this is just like a dirt path. But I don't want to just paint it like a regular dirt path. I want it to be something different. So either I can go, I want to go with this color wheel idea. I either got to go with a yellow, or like a blue. But I'm already using blue for shadows. But I guess it wouldn't hurt if I used a blue violet. Blue violet. I guess let's see what happens. Let's experiment with just an entirely blue color zone here. A blue-green color zone. So what's up, Marianne? Mariam. And let's go for like a blue-green color zone up here. I have this beautiful color right now, turquoise, but I also have another big tube of cerulean blue. So I'm gonna pop that out. So here's an Utrecht brand of paint. I like Utrecht. It's I think it's the brand for Blick. I don't know where Blick is located, or all the places that Blick is located, but it is a very well-known, high-end art supply store in Los Angeles. And I believe this is just their brand. It's their brand. So I have this green already on my brush. So let's just go for a blue. Dip it in mineral spirits just to wetten it. And let's just lay it down like right here. We're just gonna go blue-green, just this cerulean blue-green in this area right here. Just some nice thick blue-green color. And we're just gonna leave this as our. Where's all this paint going? I see the paint flinging off my brush in all these different directions, but I just can't figure out where they're actually going. And this is where mineral spirits helps. So mineral spirits allow you to thin your paint, which means that I can spread my paint really nice and easy here. And if Amazon was tracking me, they would know that right now is probably a good time to make a delivery, because that means that I have a chance to talk about the product. that arrives. I have a big shipment of paints coming soon. Nice big shipment of paints. So I'm excited about that. So here's just a nice flat color zone. Gonna go nice and flat with these colors here. Why is this is sliding so much? I think it's just too slick. So here we go. I'm just gonna leave it. Hopefully it doesn't slide too much more. How do I feel about this green space? Just a flat green area. It's different. We'll see. Let's just keep going here. Another challenge with oil paint is there's a lot of effects that you can't do until the painting is dry. Like there's this popular effect that I like right now that a lot of artists are doing. They're doing like a paint over. So basically after this is dried, if it was acrylic, which I could do right away, but if this was acrylic, I could kind of just like, you know, paint over the area and like leave some of the color underneath, and it had like this really interesting, rough, rugged painting look. But because it's all wet now, there's not too much I could do with it. So I don't know. Here we go. We got this red, orange, pure color ish right here. Got this blue and blue green. I'm not sure if I'm still not convinced that this is the perfect color for this. I'm just not sure. I don't know if the color theory is working. Or maybe I just don't have the right color match. Could be my fault too. But this did take away the thinking for a little bit, at least for a few moments. Does anyone ever wonder how cats sleep with their head stacked on top of their body? You know what I mean? Like, I could try some more yellow blend behind the flower. I could. Or yellow blend behind the flower. Yeah, make it pop. Like add some streaks. Yeah, we could do that. Here, let's play with Joshua Harvey's idea. Let's see where this could take us. I don't know if this is exactly what you're gonna say, but you know, maybe let's throw in some like expressive yellows, right? Just expressive yellows here. I like that. I like playing with this idea. Give it some energy. I don't know. That's kind of messy. I know that's probably not what you're even suggesting, but because now this color really just becomes a blue. I mean, becomes like a green now. I'm losing this blue. Uh-oh. All right, that's fine. Let's just go into it. Alright, and here we go, let's grab, we're gonna do, let's just take this Van Gogh, it's a permanent green. I really love Van Gogh brand, by the way. It's by Royal Talens. And you know, they're definitely just banking on the name Van Gogh. I don't think they have any actual relationship to the Van Gogh family. Van Gogh. I don't know if it's Gogh or Gogh. Van Gogh. If you're Dutch, correct me. But let's go. Let's just paint in the screen here. Let's get loose with it. Let's be expressive. Let's express ourselves. Still want to keep it somewhat natural. Just I love the idea of capturing the chaos of the naturalness of everything. Let's see, a little in there, a little in there, a little in there. It's okay if it moves. Let's get some of the darker, actually, you know what, let's use up the paint on here first. What are we looking for? What are we looking for? We're looking for some shadows. So let's bring back that Prussian blue. Where's that Prussian blue? I had it in here. I thought. Oh, here we go. We got ivory black. Ivory black. Cad yellow. Prussian blue. Yellow. Cad yellow. White, cad yellow, Prussian blue. Prussian blue is like a really, really dark blue. I think it's a good substitute for either like a violet, like a super dark blue, almost violet, dark violet, or even like a black. And when I say substitute, I mean like if you don't want to go totally, if you want to have some saturation of color, then it's a good substitute for like super dark navies and like shadows that don't need to be overly done. Like you can definitely still tell it's a blue, but even amongst like the color black, as far as paint goes, there is such a wide variety. There is a tremendous variety there. There's a tremendous variety. And And sometimes, like an ivory black will just look like, you know, a super dark purple, depending on the company and the brand that gets used, depending on the company. I think paintings like this really work if you paint a lot bigger. Like if you're going for some very large space coverage. Like, I think people that would like buy paintings like this need the painting to fill like a huge wall space and not just like a little above the toilet kind of wall, but like, you know, to fill an entire very large significant wall. Let's loosen up my grip a little bit. We're gonna spread our hand out just a little bit. And you know what, people? In a few moments, I'm gonna actually wrap up this session of painting. Really, I just had to go paint. I just had to paint, but like not something that required a lot of thought. Which my wedding painting requires lots of thinking. I mean, this required some thought, but I needed to get like my body moving in a new way. Otherwise, I can start to like feel kind of, you know, just different. Like you just got to move your bodies in certain ways sometimes. Like your body has certain things that it needs from you creatively, and you know, sometimes I feel like it's important to listen to that urge, that demand from your body. So I'm only going to paint a few more things just to loosen everything and get moving, get my body moving, grooving. And we'll probably come paint a little. I'll definitely have to work on the other one a little later, but for now. Child could paint this. A child totally could paint this. What's up, Faye? Faye? My cat's looking at me like, why are you waking me up from my nap by making weird noises, dude? Stop. You know what, let's go out on a limb here. what's the point of making paintings anybody can make? Although, you know, I think anybody can paint in this way. I think the exciting part of it for adults, and not necessarily like professional artists, but like adults in general, like just getting out of your own mind, just really getting a feel for what your body likes to do. You know, it's kind of like tuning in to, just tuning into yourself, right? Tuning into your mind, tuning into yourself. And here's where I think this surface is where the difference between oil painting and acrylic really come in. Is with this, no matter where I paint on here, the painting's going to be wet. I have to take that into consideration. I have to know that if I paint up here, that a little bit of green, if not a lot of green, is going to get totally mixed in. However, I think if it was acrylic, and I don't use acrylic, so if you use acrylic, feel free to correct me. But I feel like if it was acrylic, this painted about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, it would already be dry. And if I painted on top of it now with any color, the green wouldn't really there wouldn't really be much of a effect from the green. Compared to, you know, the effects that we have now, which are from the reds. Right now I want to grab some of this orange here. Let's just see how it goes. Like, I'm gonna make some pops of orange in this area right here. Color's a little muddy, but like anything, dancing, I mean, I think if you really want to connect with your body, dancing is probably the best you could go, or some type of martial art or whatever. But for me, I mean, you know, martial arts helps, but I think it's painting. Personally, it's just like, it does something to me. And that's my interpretation of the world. That's what the world looks like to me. No, just kidding. The image looks totally different than this, but. Oh, and you know what? You know what's an effect I've been seeing a lot lately? That could be fun. I just gotta find the right color to do it. Is it really like drippy red or yellow? Ooh, I need to get a nice drippy yellow. Just get a really juicy drippy yellow here. This effect has been really popular, I've seen lately, but just letting like a nice drippy, letting a paint drip. It's not really dripping right now, but there we go. There's a drip. There we go. I just gotta squeeze it. But this is something I think you could do with oil paint that isn't as easy with acrylic. But again, I'm not an acrylic painter. I don't think I've ever, even in my entire life, touched acrylic paint, except for maybe when I was like a child in high school and I didn't even really know what it was. But let's just let some of this drippiness happen. Let's let drip up here. This captures the natural beauty of everything. Let's let some of the drip happen down here. Not all out of drip. Ah, there we go. Let that drip happen. Would be nicer if it was like a purer, like, you know, red or something. That's actually not too bad. Actually, you can see where I did the drips. Oh wait, there needs to be some color down here. bring it all together. This is how I think Damien Hirst should have done his most recent piece. He did all these like little dabs all across his painting, just little dabs of paint. I think he should have done it all drippy. It would make them more beautiful. But hey, who am I to give Damien Hirst advice, right? Why would Damien Hirst take advice from me? He obviously thought about that. Let's try to find the drippage here. I don't want to get too wild with it as far as like, you know, trying to like I don't want to get too wild with it as far as like trying to flip the canvas upside down or whatever. I'm not gonna go and do all that, but I really like this drip effect actually. It's coming up with some nice design, and you know what I think is good is that these colors, although they're getting a little bit muddy, they're not starting to look too muddy because these are colors that actually work well together. Green, yellow, blue, right? Green, yellow, blue, anytime you mix those colors together, you're pretty much going to avoid mud. You're just going to get like different values of that exact color. However, if I start to like try to mix the red into it, that's when, you know, that's when it can really have its like muddy problems. And that's when you can really have your issues. But what's up, Ariane? How you doing? Did you ever figure out the answer to your life's creative questions? I know the other day we got disconnected, but attempted to help you do your homework. I hope you were able to eventually discover your own answers. Or, you know, I mean, the thing is there's tons of people on the internet that will give you the answers you're looking for. And sometimes you have to pay for it, and sometimes people give it away for free. But I think at the end of the day, the most helpful way is to, you know where to find the answers, and know that sometimes you have to find your own answers. And that's kind of my philosophy. Not that, you know, wouldn't be willing to help you figure out what you're doing, but little live consultations. Well, here it is 10:45, and that means I need to take a break right now. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up for the morning for now. I'll come back later. So I have to work on the wedding painting. Do have to work on the wedding painting. We're gonna close up shop for now. Yeah, hey, take care, dude. Thanks for popping in. Hope all of your everything goes well out there in South Africa. And hope all of your creative projects and dreams come true. All of you. And I definitely could have added more flowers, but I don't know. It has its charm. You gotta go to school. Alright, man. Go to school, take care of that. Take care of school. And take care, everybody.